is everybody in the global automobile industry is going to be offering high quality, high technology, high range electric vehicles, and the Tesla has no advantage, no technological advantage, no software advantage, no battery advantage, no advantages whatsoever. Plus, what wasn't mentioned is whether they increase Model 3 production or not, they're still hemorrhaging cash.
Material supply chain of supplying the cells themselves for any automaker to make all the electric vehicles that we aspire to make. And so during the transformation, we can see some of the problems that we had with the chip shortage brought on by the pandemic and the uneven production schedules and the lead time of making a silicon chip. That could be even more exacerbated by some of the rare earth material supply chain issues. If you don't have them secure for the next 5 to 10 years, that's going to be a problem.
Thanks for joining us once again. This is Greg for Teslafaninsight. Today's sort of bombshell news comes from GM. Now, you can read the article in Clean Technica as well as we can, but just a quick sort of highlight section. A report by South Korea's The Elect claims that General Motors is planning to stop using pouch cells in its future electric cars and switch to cylindrical cells. The move has caused some stress in the relationship between GM and its primary battery supplier, LG Energy Solution. The two companies have already agreed to jointly construct and operate 3 battery factories in the U.S. One is already in operation in Ohio, and 2 others are under construction, one in Michigan and the other in Tennessee. A 4th factory was planned for Indiana, but this latest decision seems to have put that plan on hold. The talks between GM and LGS about the plant have ended, sources tell The Elect, and GM is reportedly reaching out to at least one other battery manufacturer, as yet unnamed. There are precious few details available, but the information The Elect got from the sources in South Korea is that General Motors will use the 4680 format cylindrical cells first used by Tesla. Cylindrical cells may be somewhat easier to manufacture than pouch cells, since the production techniques have been in use since the Carter administration, which could make them a lower cost option at a time when battery materials prices are rising. I want to just say, wow, this is an amazing turn because, as you may recall, we took a look at the photos provided of the Ultium, as well as the fact that there's been a process going on over the last, let's say, 4 or 5 years where LG's pouch technology has been the primary technology being offered to manufacturers. And so they have the largest number of OEMs that have been working under their pouch process. The problems that they've had and been solving over time include obviously overheating, the $2 billion fire issues that resulted in recalls by GM. They've also had some severe issues when it comes to fast charging. Yes, their systems work, but consumers seem obsessed with how long it's going to take for them to recharge their vehicles. So there's a lot of reasons why this is a good move by GM, but it further confirms the direction Tesla is going in. Just a reminder, please take time to like and subscribe and join us on Patreon for more info on better investing and trading. And thank you to all of our supporters on that side of the house. So what I wanted to cover today is the fact that this is, I think it's kind of shocking. I'm shocked because this really highlights the fact that there's a completely different process of how engineering seems to work at sort of a leading edge company that's a research university built in that Tesla is, versus how the OEMs normally operate. As you know, one of Elon's comments a while ago was the fact that you could in essence build a car company from scratch with parts bought around the world. But when it came to EVs and a number of advances Tesla has developed, there's sort of a competitive disadvantage by the large companies around the world, because the effort was made to go ahead and just all line up at the door of LG to buy whatever they were offering. And then you'd have a standard way in which most of the OEMs would all address how they're going to service customers. So there's a nightmare that's occurred, which is, I think, still shocking for me. And that is that the goal of LG was simply to port its experience with cell phone batteries and laptop batteries easily over to cars and easily have a win there because of that long history and experience. And it turns out there are attributes to electric vehicles and their batteries that are optimized under the umbrella of what Tesla has developed over time. And this move by GM illustrates the fact that this is a clear win for what Elon and Tesla are developing. There's a weird sort of thing happening right now and you'll notice both GM and BMW announced that they're moving to the 4680 cell. The challenge is that right now, Tesla's been engaged in some strange activity. The relationship between Tesla and Panasonic is actually very close, but Tesla forced Panasonic to develop its own 4680 cell after studying what Tesla was doing. And it is not building just, sort of the implementation of a plan of Tesla. They're building their own, if you will, version of it. And I was very surprised to see that, given how close the two companies are. But it also answers a very strange question about Tesla, which is, you'll notice that they noted that there's a 10 gigawatt hour cap on the number of 4680 batteries that could be built. And in the current factory in Fremont, and that they were going to be building the 4680 at new locations in Texas and now in Reno. So this brings up really interesting, what's going to happen here. I actually believe that it's in GM's best interest to simply do parallel production until they can get factories built and a working 4680 battery, because it just puts them behind. I was very surprised hearing the president of GM discuss how rapidly they were trying to get to market with these products, because while they work, they represent sort of the current state, not the future state of where electric batteries were going. So I think this is going to set GM back at least a year, maybe two, in the whole EV space, because they recognize that they need to make this change, and they're doing it. I guess we should give them credit, because for them to decide to make this big change clearly puts egg on their face, and I think potentially costs a lot of people their jobs, because they're relying on this Ultium platform actually working and being a winner. So stay tuned. I guess the final question that comes up is when, Bob Lutz at a different point had articulated that for example, having your own battery factories was an anvil around the neck of Tesla, and that GM and other OEMs would not do it because they recognized that as batteries became commodities over time, whoever had factories would actually kind of be wiped out by the costs related to those factories. And it's interesting now to watch all of the competitors sort of roll through strategies that keep shifting, and all the strategies that they're doing move them closer and closer to what Tesla's process is. So, congrats to GM on making the change. I think you guys should have done this multiple years ago. But I guess the other note that I learned is that, yes, they've got factories that are being built to produce batteries, and they've made progress, including opening the first LG factory. But the challenge now is to kind of go in, determine what needs to be built in those facilities in order to facilitate 4680, and then implementing that in terms of redoing what's going to be the finish of those battery facilities. And then from what the article said, who they're going to do it with, because it's not an expertise area of LG's. A surprise for me on this whole thing is that Tesla now has LG as one of its suppliers for 2170 batteries. And it's interesting to see them skipping that iteration that they could easily purchase now from LG and move directly into the 4680. It seems to also be a validation of the concept of the structural battery pack that the 4680 represents. So this is another, I guess, kudos to Tesla and the engineering that went into developing the 4680. And this is a suggestion that perhaps the engineering process and solutions of Tesla represent the future, and there's a disagreement with how old technology is dealing with new technology. At any rate, thanks once again for joining us. This is Greg for Teslafaninsight. Tschüss, macht's gut, au revoir, lahitro, choda hafez, здравствуйте, Russian, ni hao ma, Chinese, konbanwa, Japanese. In Jamaica, we say enough respect. Our health tip today that I'm working hard on is that we had one of our doctor psychiatrists recommend a 20-minute walk every day. And if you'll turn to TED Talks, there's a scientist that talks about the impact of a 20-minute walk on brain function on a daily basis. And I'm definitely trying it out and want to encourage you to join me in testing this as well. Thanks again for joining us. Have a great day, and bye for now.